Hello, everyone. This is Cost Accounting, May the 5th, 2021. We're going to go for a few minutes in today's class. You should have received the quiz for chapters 8 and 10. Again, you're going to be doing that on your own through the Canvas. You have a 30-minute window. I just would like to have that done by tomorrow, Thursday, May 6th by 5 p.m. So you can pick whatever 30-minute period you're thinking of having that done. So I haven't done this before, so this will be a new experience. So hopefully a good one for both of us. So we're going to continue with chapter 12, where we finished led off. So we were looking at decision making and how it is very important that you make sure that whenever you're making a decision, you only include the relevant factors, the relevant information, and get rid of or do not include irrelevant information. So part of the irrelevant information would be cost, for instance, that would be the same no matter what we end up doing. Okay, so here again, we have a company that manufactures slippers and sells them normally for $13 a pair. They have variable manufacturing at $6.50 a pair and allocated manufacturing cost of $2 a pair. Now, that allocated fixed manufacturing cost is done for costing purposes, but the cost that $2 per pairs, $2 per pair that is allocated in total will not change whether or not we increase the number of units we produce and sell. Okay, this company has idle capacity to accept a one-time special order of 5,000 pairs of slippers at $8.50 a pair. So normally they get 13. So what's going to be important then here is to look at $8.50. Is that going to be greater than their incremental cost of producing those additional 5,000 pairs? Again, it indicates there's no marketing cost, and they simply want us to indicate what would the effect be on operating income if the special order could be accepted without affecting normal orders. So the only thing that's really applicable to here is the variable manufacturing cost that they would incur as a result of those 5,000 pairs at $6.50. The allocated fixed manufacturing would not be relevant because whether or not we take this special order, our total fixed manufacturing is going to be the same amount, even though we do allocate fixed manufacturing as part of our costing system. So in this case, they would be making $2 a pair on those 5,000 pairs. So they would increase net operating income by 10,000. How is that calculated? Again, the special order per price was $8.50. The only relevant cost in this case would be the variable manufacturing cost per unit of $6.50, giving us then a contribution margin per unit of $2. The effect on operating income would be, again, $2 times 5,000 units or 10,000. Now, number two, we have a company that produces part number 498 for its production line. The manufacturing cost per unit for the 20,000 units of part 498 is listed as follows. And again, the only one that would be problematic for any sort of decision is going to be that fixed manufacturing overhead allocated of $20. So the counter company is offered to sell 20,000 units of part 498 to Portland for $58 per unit. So again, this is an outsourcing question. So it looks like, yeah, we should probably go forward. Our cost is 63. The supplier is promising to do it for 58, but it's not so simple. So again, Portland will make the decision to buy the part from counter if there is an overall savings of at least $20,000 for Portland. If Portland accepts counter's offer, $5 per unit of the fixed manufacturing overhead allocated would be eliminated. So that needs to now be included in our analysis, because our fixed manufacturing will in fact be reduced if we no longer produce this part. That fixed manufacturing would not be borne on other products or other parts that they manufacture. So Portland has determined that the release facilities, again, no longer going to be producing 498, could now be used to produce 575. And again, they need the amount of relevant costs that would have to be saved by using the release facilities in the manufacture of part 9575 would be the following. And what other factors might Portland consider before outsourcing? Well, the cost, we're going to compare then the cost to purchase it versus the cost that we are currently incurring. So right now, our relevant costs are the direct materials at 4, the variable direct manufacturing labor at 22, and the variable overhead at 43. But now some of the fixed cost becomes relevant because it indicated that we would save $5 of the fixed manufacturing overhead would be eliminated. That means it would be eliminated for the company as a whole, including for this part. So of that 20, 5 now becomes relevant. So the cost saved by not making would be $48. We wouldn't be incurring that 48. We would multiply that by 20,000 units because this is on a per unit basis. So the cost savings, $48 times 20,000 units would be 960,000. The difference then is the extra cost of purchasing outside then is 200,000. That really becomes what's relevant, but we also want to have a minimum overall savings of 20,000. So the necessary relevant costs that would have to be saved to produce, to manufacture that new part, number 575 would be 220,000. So if we're going to save 220,000 by now producing part 575, 220,000 or better, then we should go forward with having this part outsourced. What are some other considerations? And these considerations are pretty common for all outsourcing questions. Portland must consider the consequences of increasing its dependence on counter. So part 498 now is being produced, manufactured by an outside company. If they don't get the part to us, we can't produce our product. So we are going to rely on them. And that's something that needs to be looked at. One of the things they'd want to also look at is make sure that the quality of their product that they manufacture, and are they reliable in their delivery delivery schedules over the long-term period. Portland would also want counter to continuously reduce costs so that 58 doesn't increase. So how is that done? Portland may want to build a close relationship, a partnership, and alliance with the counter company. Okay, we already talked about this problem. We did parts 1 and 2. Again, the question is, should they take this special order? Turned out in number 1, we should go forward with it. Number 2, not, because we would be losing our 1,000 of our regular customers because we had to satisfy this order for 2,000 of those windows, which are sold at a lower price. Number 3, assume that the monthly capacity is 12,000 windows. Reward 1 is concerned that if it accepts the special offer, its existing customers will immediately demand a price discount of $20 in the month in which the special order is being filled. They would argue that Reward 1's capacity costs are now being spread over more units, and that existing benefits should get some benefit of those lower costs. So the question is, should Reward 1 accept the special order under these conditions? So again, they should not accept them. Why? because if we sold those 2,000 units under the special order, we saw in requirement 1 that that would increase net operating income by $152,005. However, if our current customers are given that $20 discount, our regular 10,000 customers, that would be $200,000 in operating income lost. So the net effect on operating income of accepting that special order would result in a decrease of operating income of $47,500. They should not accept this particular idea. So insourcing versus outsourcing, which is another way of saying a make or buy decision. Do we make it ourselves or do we buy it from outside? So outsourcing, purchasing goods and services from outside vendors. Insourcing means you'll produce the good or provide the service yourself within your organization. Again, these are called make or buy decisions. And opportunity cost are the contribution to operating income that is lost, or foregone is a better word, by not using a limited resource in its next best alternative use. We will never see this opportunity cost in the accounting records, but it may be the most important thing in finally coming up with a decision. So there now is an issue with international outsourcing. So many companies today have a variety of companies that are, for instance, providing information on 1-800 calls, especially maybe with regards to registering a product, using the product, technical advice. International outsourcing requires managers to evaluate manufacturing and transportation costs, exchange rate risk, and other strategic and qualitative factors such as quality, reliability, and efficiency of the supply chain. So whether it's international or domestic outsourcing, the whole question of quality, reliability, and efficiency on the part of those partners is extremely, extremely important. The total alternative approach simply means that managers should consider future costs and revenues for all of their products. If, for example, one decision will create idle capacity, but that idle capacity can be used for manufacturing of another product, like we saw in that first multiple choice question, then that also should be considered in the overall decision. Opportunity cost is the contribution to operating income, as we said, that is foregone by not using a limited resource in its next best alternative use. Deciding to use a resource one way means a manager must forego the opportunity to use that same resource in another way. So again, managers must consider that opportunity cost in their decision process. Carrying cost of inventory. Recall that under the opportunity cost approach, the relevant cost of any alternative is the incremental cost of the alternative plus the opportunity cost of the profit foregone from choosing that alternative. So the opportunity cost of holding inventory is the income foregone by tying up money in inventory and not investing it elsewhere. So this is again a classic reason why it's not always a good idea to store up a lot of inventory, because while that inventory is sitting on the shelves somewhere, it's not generating any revenue, and that cost that we've incurred to either manufacture or buy that inventory has already been expended. So I want you to do this on your own. We'll talk about the answer in a couple of moments. So my suggestion would be to look at this, maybe spend 10 minutes, put it on pause, and see how your answer is. So Everlawn, a manufacturer of lawnmowers, predicts that it will purchase 228,000 spark plugs next year. Everlawn estimates that 19,000 spark plugs will be required each month, as the supplier quotes a price of $7 per spark plug. The supplier also offers a special discount option. If all 228,000 spark plugs are purchased at the start of the year, a discount of 4% off the $7 price will be given. So Everlawn can invest its cash at $10 per year. It costs Everlawn $210 to place each purchase order. So if they do it monthly, it's going to be 210 times 12. If they do it once, that cost will only be $210. So one, required, what is the opportunity cost of interest foregone from purchasing all 228,000 at the start of the year instead of in 12 monthly purchases of 19,000 units per order. So I'd like you again, spend some time, see if you can figure out what is the opportunity cost of interest foregone. So again, they can invest their cash at 10% per year. So you want to compare that to what the price that, or the discount, the amount they're going to save if they were to buy all of the spark plugs at one time. 2, would the opportunity cost be recorded in the accounting system? Well, I've already mentioned that. Hopefully you remember what I said. 3, should Everlawn purchase 228,000 units at the start of the year or 19,000 units each month? Show your calculations. That's really the real question. And are there any other factors Everlawn should consider when making its decision? So I suggest you pause the recording and see if you can answer this. I'm going to put the answer up in a couple of moments. I don't think it really helps if you don't make an attempt at it. And then check your answers to what the actual answers are. So again, I'd suggest you pause it, work on this. I would say this should take you about 10-15 minutes. And then now we will look at the answer. So the unit cost was at 19,000. If we bought 228,000, we would get a 4% discount. So instead of 100%, it would be 0.96 of 7. So that would be 672 for each spark plug. So the alternatives under consideration: buy all the 228,000 at the start of the year, B, buy 19,000 units at the start of each month. So what's the average investment in inventory? In A, it would be 228,000 times 672. Again, divided by 2, that would be the average, the beginning of the year, the end of the year, divide that by 2, that gives us an average investment, 766,080. If we go to option B, where we buy them monthly, our average investment in inventory is only 66,500. The difference in average investment, 699,580. Again, what is the opportunity cost of interest foregone if we bought the 228,000 units at the start of the year? Again, we can get 10%. So 699,580 times 10% would be 69,958. The number 2 said, does this 69,958 opportunity cost show up on the records, the accounting records? And the answer is no. That opportunity cost is an opportunity cost rather than an incremental or an outlay cost. We're not paying anything, we're not receiving anything. So no actual transaction records of that 69,958 as an entry in the accounting system. Again, very, very important that decision makers, managers, be aware of this. So number 3, again, looked at the 2 alternatives. So if we do the purchase all of the spark plugs at one time, we'd have 210 as our annual purchase order cost. The purchase would be the 228,000 times 672, so 1,532,160. And our annual interest income that would be earned if the investment in inventory were invested. Again, this would be an opportunity cost, so it would be 10% of 766,080 if we were to buy them all at the beginning. So the relevant cost, 1,608,978. Column 2 would be we buy them 19,000 per month. So we'd have increase our purchase order costs, because now it's 12 times 210. Our cost for the spark plugs is at 5. Is at 7. So 7 times 228,000 would be 1,596,000. And the amount of the annual interest that could be incurred, again, that would be 10% of 66,500. So that would be 66.5, and we can see our relevant cost jump are at 1,605,170, and column 3 gives us the incremental difference, totaling relevant cost difference of 3,808. So what does column 3 indicate? So column 3 indicates that purchasing 19,000 spark plugs at the beginning of each month is preferred relative to the 228,000 spark plugs at the beginning of the year, because the opportunity cost of holding larger inventory exceeds the lower purchasing and ordering cost. So because they can get a good return on their assets at 10%, it throws the preference in this case to buy them in 12 separate orders. Number 4, what are some other considerations? If other incremental benefits of holding lower inventory, such as lower insurance, material handling, storage. Again, storing all of those batteries could be very, very problematic. 228,000 versus the 19,000 per month. It's possible that the batteries become obsolete. New batteries might come up within that 12-month period. Breakage cost, theft cost. So all of these costs would probably increase alternative A, and thus alternative B would be preferred even more. So for homework, Sandy's Paint Shop, 1238, homework 1238, Sandy's Paint Shop paints exterior services for commercial and residential customers. It charges $175 per hour for a crew of painters. For March 2020, Sandy expects the crew to operate at 80% of capacity, 160 hours of the 200-hour available each month. So operating income for March is anticipated to be as follows. Again, we have our revenue, variable costs, we have our fixed painting, marketing, and administrative costs. We expect to have an operating income of $3,000. Jenny's Pizza has approached Sandy to paint its storefront for $150 an hour. Okay, the job needs to be done in March 2020 and is expected to take 60 hours of the crew time. It is not expected to change fixed painting costs. There are no marketing or additional administrative costs associated with this job. Sandy must either take the entire job or none of it. So the question is, should Sandy's Paint Shop accept the special order? Show your calculations. Number 2, Perry's Paint Shop has offered to provide paint and crew to Sandy for $125 per hour if she needs help in March 2020. Should Sandy accept the special order and reject Perry's offer? Accept B, accept the special order and accept Perry's offer, or C, reject the special order. Show your calculations. And again, what are some other factors that Sandy should consider among the 3 alternatives that are given her in requirement 2. So again, this is homework 1238. This will be due on next Monday. So other issues, product mix decisions with capacity constraints. Again, capacity to again, get that back in your mind simply has to do with what are the things that we need to deal with if we have a situation where we may not have unlimited resources. So product mix decisions, again, deluxe tables versus standard tables, our decision managers must make about which products to sell in what quantities. The decision rule with a constraint is choose the product that produces the highest contribution margin per unit of the constraining resource, versus what we've always done, which is simply take the unit or the product that has the highest contribution margin per unit. So here we have a company that has 2 products, product A and product B. Selling price, variable cost, contribution margin per unit, contribution margin percentage, machine hours required per unit, and the contribution margin per machine hour. So you can see product B has the highest contribution margin per unit in both absolute dollars and percentage numbers, but it has a lower contribution margin with regards to machines. So the issue here is going to be we have a limited number of machine hours. So what's the best way for us to allocate allocate those machine hours? A bottleneck. Bottleneck is a phenomenon where the performance and capacity of an entire system is limited by a single or limited number of components or resources. It's exactly what we just saw in that example. Machine hours are going to be that. The term bottleneck is taken from assets. The assets are water metaphor. As water is poured out of a bottle, the rate of outflow is limited by the width of the conduit, the bottleneck. By increasing the width of the bottleneck, one can increase the rate at which the water flows out of the neck at different frequencies. Such limiting components of a system are sometimes referred to as bottlenecks. The theory of constraints describes methods to maximize operating income when faced with bottleneck and some non-bottleneck operations. So these are three measures: throughput margin, investments, and operating cost. The object of theory of constraints is to increase throughput margin while decreasing investments and operating costs. So TOC focuses on managing bottleneck operations. So managing bottleneck operations has 4 steps. First, recognize that the bottleneck operations determines the contribution margin of the entire system. We need to identify the bottleneck operations, keep the bottleneck operations busy. In other words, use that and subordinate all non-bottleneck operations to the bottleneck operations, and take actions to increase the efficiency and capacity of the bottleneck operation. So here we have a situation. A company produces 2 types of weightlifting equipment, Model 9 and Model 14. Pertinent data is given, as you can see there. The weightlifting craze suggests that Planet Fit can either sell enough of Model 9 or Model 14 to keep the plant operating at full capacity. Both products are processed through the same production requirements. So the required is, which product should the company produce? So that's going to be 1228. I want you to consider this homework. So I'm going to have you do 1238 and 1228 for homework. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. We will continue on Monday going over the answers to the 2 homework problems and continuing on and finishing chapter 12. I hope you have a good evening.